Bitcoin just hit $123,000. But this rally feels, well, different. No buzz, no frenzy, just one big question. Where's retail? Well, let's talk about that here on The Effect. Hi, I'm Nate Martin, and this is The Bitcoin Effect. Today, we're digging into why Bitcoin's latest surge past $123,000 isn't sparking the hype we've seen in past rallies. And I think there are three key forces at work. First, ETF inflows are relentless. BlackRock, Fidelity, and Bitwise ETFs are pulling in nearly 19,000 Bitcoin per week, far outpacing the roughly 3,150 Bitcoin that miners produced. According to Farside Investors, these funds saw back-to-back inflows of over $1 billion on Thursday and Friday, for a total of $2.7 billion in a single week. And the typical buyer looks different now. Mid-40s, higher income, and choosing ETFs through financial advisors, much like their parents did with stocks. And meanwhile, OGs cringe watching these new investors walk straight into the dollar exposure and counterparty risk that they see as the real threat. Second, the macro landscape is fueling Bitcoin's rise. Global debt has climbed to $350 trillion, and that's up 5% this year alone, putting pressure on fiat systems. And currencies like the euro and yen are seeing inflation as high as 7% in some regions, eroding purchasing power. And investors are turning to Bitcoin as protection against mounting economic threats, treating it like digital gold to protect against currency devaluation and economic instability. Third, politics. President Trump has pushed pro-Bitcoin policies, including signing an executive order in March to create a strategic reserve using seized Bitcoin. And though some critics argue it lacks ambition, he's tied it to boosting U.S. economic strength and energy independence, signaling Bitcoin's role in countering inflation and fiscal instability. But despite these drivers, ETF demand, macro tailwinds, and political moves, the Bitcoin community is still asking, where's retail? Well, they're not gone, they're just showing up differently, with older, wealthier investors favoring ETFs over direct ownership. In previous cycles, retail was impossible to miss. 2017 had ICO mania and record downloads of Coinbase's app. 2021 gave us laser eyes, dog memes, and TikTok speculators. But in 2025, the social buzz is muted. On-chain data shows small wallets aren't adding as much Bitcoin. That's down 15% since Q1. One Redditor summed it up. It's officially game over for retail hodlers. ETFs are gobbling up 10,000 Bitcoin per day. And another said, this cycle's different. It's not FOMO, it's calculated money moving in. And the data backs this up. ETF inflows hit $50 billion in 2025, with 60% from retail accounts at platforms like Fidelity and Schwab, often through 401ks or IRAs. These investors get exposure, not ownership, creating a quieter bull run. No wallets, no laser eye picks, just passive bets. So why is it so quiet? Well, there seems to be a media hush. With only about 1,100 articles covering Bitcoin's $123,000 climb, major outlets like the Wall Street Journal and Bloomberg barely mentioned the rally, showing just how much the mainstream press is skipping the story. Well, probably because it lacks the wild sensationalism of past cycles. Bitcoin's no longer a shiny new toy. It's a mature asset. And if Bitcoin is boring, well, then nobody's going to click on that story. For OGs, though, this shift hurts. The rebellion was about pushing back against a broken system. And now, with ETFs in the mix, it feels like the revolution grew up, got a haircut, and put on a tie. But that polished new image hides a deeper risk. Because we're fighting a new fight, not just banks or governments, but these funds and their commissioned sales hacks pitching ETF exposure while ignoring Bitcoin's true value, which is controlling your own financial future through self-custody and the freedom to transact your value without intervention. So, what's it going to take for investors to prioritize self-custody? Is it going to take another Mt. Gox or FTX-style collapse? Currency controls or capital restrictions? Something that finally makes people see that Bitcoin only acts like Bitcoin when your Bitcoin is actually Bitcoin. And that means that you hold the keys and aren't trusting somebody else to hold them for you. Here at the Bitcoin Effect, I try my best to uphold this principle, not to pump price or chase headlines, but to help people see what Bitcoin already is: ownership, sovereignty, and freedom, and what that means in the world around them. And if that sounds like the kind of Bitcoin content that you want more of, well then hit like, subscribe, and ring the bell so you don't miss what's next. We'll see you next time.